Yeah, guys, I know some of you have been with us, some of the previous sessions with Lumio. Today's session, in particular, is about making learning accessible to all learners. Lumio does a great job. They have lots of different ways that we can make that learning accessible. So we're just going to take you through some activities. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I will keep checking that chat there. Yeah, for those of you that are on this page here, if you want to click resources and maybe favorite that for the future. Lumio is very comparable to those of that have maybe used Nearpod and PearJack, but it has some extra added bonuses that you can do with it as well. You can see that I have gone ahead and linked in a word search. This is just one of those interactive activities that is super easy to use in Lumio. I like to put it in there just for those kiddos that are my early finishers, the ones that are always asking, what do I do next? It can take them right into that word search. Like I said, all I did was copy and paste some words in there, and now they have something to do to keep them busy for a couple of minutes while we're maybe checking attendance or going through those transitions. All right, so the first activity, this is just a little check-in. I love every day as my students come in, I would do just a little check-in. If any of you are a Schitt's Creek fan, I am a big Schitt's Creek fan. So all I'm having them do, I made this a whole class whiteboard. And so I am just asking you on a scale of David, how are you feeling about ensuring that the needs of diverse learners are being met in the blended and hybrid learning settings? So how do you feel about meeting those learners' needs? And so all you're doing, I infinitely cloned that little rose there. And so all you are doing is dragging the rose onto one of the Davids to tell me how you're feeling. We know that it's hard. We all have diverse learners in our classroom, so trying to meet the needs of all learners is definitely a difficult situation. So hopefully Lumio can help you make that a little bit easier. What I love about this whole class whiteboard is that it is anonymous. Nobody can see what you are doing or what you have chosen except for the teacher. So I, as the teacher, I can click on the moved object and I can click on the drop down arrow and I can see that Kathleen chose this one. And so I can go ahead and do a quick check-in with my students. Also, with the whole class whiteboard, up in the top right-hand corner, you can probably see it. It says everyone can edit. If I have a little friend that is maybe not following the directions and is moving 20 different flowers, I can quickly toggle that off, which takes that access away from the students so that we can reconvene and go over the directions again. And then when we're ready, I can go ahead and toggle that back on for my students. And so again, this is a whole class whiteboard activity. I will show you how to do that. Completely anonymous, except for the teacher can check in on you. This next activity is called a shout it out. I love to use this at the beginning of my lessons as a quick brainstorm or maybe a KWL. So this here, I can toggle my students' names on or off as they answer. And so I'm going to go ahead and make sure that my students' names are toggled off. And so when you answer this questions, you're going to see the four questions that I have that I'm asking you right in front of you. And so I'm asking you to answer each question. And again, it's going to come up completely anonymous, but it's going to save that data for me so that I can check in and see that all of my students are answering and participating. This is a great activity because we know we have those students that don't love to participate, that like to sit in the back of the classroom and kind of blend in and hope they're not called on. So this gives them a little bit more freedom to answer without feeling embarrassed or feeling shy. We don't have to call them out. It's completely anonymous except for to the teacher. So I'm just asking you, what grade levels do you support? What could make this session effective? What do you already love about Lumio? If you have never used Lumio before, be honest, you don't love anything yet, and that is fine. How do you use Lumio to support accessibility? Again, if you've never used it or you don't know, be honest about that. But if you have been able to explore with Lumio a little bit and you have found some great ways to make learning accessible to your students, please go ahead and let me know. I love it. I see someone posted immersive reader. If you don't know what immersive reader is, I'm excited to show it to you. It's definitely a great way to make that learning accessible for all levels in your classroom. What do we love about Lumio? The pre-made resources. Absolutely. The different templates that are already there for you. I love it. I love the positivity. I'm new to it, but I believe I will love it in the future. Never used it before. The graphic options, awesome. Thank you all for participating. I hope to make this very, very easy and simple for you. It should not be an overwhelming tool. It is very, very easy to incorporate into your classroom without having to spend a lot of time creating. And so again, right now it's anonymous, but this will all be saved in my session that I can go back and review, and I would be able to see exactly which students participated and what each student submitted there as well. All right, we're going to move on here. This is an activity that I made in Canva. It's just a slide that I made in Canva for those of you that use Canva. And Canva has an app that is already integrated in Canva that you can quickly export your slides right into Lumio. Right now, this is not an interactive activity, but I can very easily make it interactive. Okay, so I want to show you how to do this. So this would be with any slides, such as Google Slides, PowerPoint, or Canva, or a PDF. So what I'm going to do is in the little people icon here, I'm going to click on it and I get three options. Okay, I'm going to explain those three options real quick. So I can take any slides, any PDF, and I can turn them into an individual handout, which is just like me handing a worksheet out to each and every student in my classroom. So each student is going to get their own workspace in Lumio. B would be the group workspace, which means that it would go ahead and sort all of my students that are in my class today into equal groups. And then it's going to give them that shared workspace. And then C, the whole class whiteboard, which is what I'm going to do now. So now I'm going to change it into a whole class whiteboard. And now it is going to be able to be interacted with. So what I'm asking you to do is to take the car on the road there. If you've been in my session before, you have probably seen this. So I'm asking you to take one of those little cars in the bottom right-hand corner and drag it along the road there to tell me where you are in your Lumio journey. So I've got all the way from novice, which would mean I've heard of Lumio, I've never really tried it, all the way to expert, which means that I am using it on an almost daily basis and I could train somebody. Thank you for participating. And again, it's totally anonymous, but I can click on each car and see exactly who has submitted what there. All right, so as we know, right, learning is not a straight path. Right? So what people think it looks like versus what it really looks like. We've got mountains to climb and definitely lots and lots of trials and tribulations as we are along that path of learning for our students. All right, so what tools are essential to create the ideal setting for growth? So this activity here is called a rank order activity. It is completely opinion-based. There is no one or right or wrong answer. But what do you think is important when we are looking at making instruction accessible for our students? So what do you think it would be important for Lumio or any program that you are using to do? And so all you're doing is you are taking each choice and you are putting it in order of what you think is the most important to not as important for you. Again, no right or wrong answer. This is just opinion based. This activity, I could set it up for having one right answer, such as putting things in ABC order, or putting story elements in order, or putting historical events from social studies in order, and then we could check them. Or I could just do it like I'm doing right now as a quick check-in to see what's most important to them. As my students are working, I can be viewing my progress to see how many students are done, how many are still working, and I can even see how many students have not complete or have not interacted with it at all yet. I like when I'm using Lumio to teach, I like to be logged in on a separate computer. So most likely I would have this projecting or on my interactive whiteboard panel. But on a side, like on my teacher desk, I might have my laptop signed in as well, where I can view my individual student progress. And so I'm going to show you what that looks like. If I clicked student progress, And it's all blurred out, and it's blurred out for a reason. Do you really want to share this in front of your students? And no, I normally wouldn't, but I do want you just to see how quick and easy it is for me to go and to check in with my students. And so I can quickly see, all right, Mrs. Peterson, she's done. It took her a minute 9 to check. I can click on her and see what order she put her things in, and then I can tell who has not interacted yet. So just a quick way to check in with my students. All right, I'm going to move on to our next slide here, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about Lumio. You've already heard me say that word engagement probably a lot. And so again, today's session is completely on making learning accessible. And some of the things that Lumio has in it that's going to help make learning accessible is our audio options for both teacher and student, as well as that multimodal way to respond to questions and text. So we can respond with text by typing or drawing. We can respond with audio, and we can respond with images or stickers. And then, as one of you previously mentioned, there is something very, very awesome called the immersive reader that I'm going to show you. And that is great for our struggling readers as well as our English as second language students. Here I have, this slide here just has some of the things that Lumio can do. So like I've already mentioned, you are able to bring any of that pre-existing content that you already have, whether it's something that came along with your curriculum or something you purchased or something you made on your own, and you can bring it directly into Lumio. And then here is where I talked about those 3 options. I can make any of those pre-made activities into an individual handout, which is just like a student worksheet, a group workspace, which separates my students into groups for me, and then they can all collaborate together, or also that whole class whiteboard, which is like what you saw with the little Lumio journey road there. We have that are then to it, the AI assist that Lumio now has. This is a new feature to Lumio. Right now, 4 of those games can be made using AI assist, as well as creating an entire lesson using AI. We've got thousands of pre-made resources for teachers by teachers in all areas, all grade levels. YouTube, we can add those videos in completely ad and comment free. The shout it out, that's what we started this lesson with that brainstorming activity there. I told you we're going to talk about immersive reader today. And then if you know anything about PhET, we're not really going to get into it today, but I do recommend exploring with it. It is very, very cool, mostly math and science related, that gives you some really great opportunities for discovery and hands-on. And then we also have class sessions, which is great for those secondary teachers or even upper elementary teachers that teach more than one actual class of the same content. All right, moving on. So these are just some of the ways that some of the things that we're going to go over today to meet those diverse learners' needs. So we're going to talk a lot about choice boards, the game-based learning, being able to put the student and teacher voice into our lessons, lots of great manipulatives and graphic organizers as well. All right, so using audio features on the teacher side. So what I've done here, there's 2 different things that I want to point out. So if you look in the upper right-hand corner, you can see the little audio sign with the play button. So as the teacher, you can add audio instructions to every single one of your slides or activities in Lumio. You can record up to 5 minutes of your instruction. And then what I've done is I've turned this into a student handout. So in that student handout, you're going to be able to click the little audio here, which I've just attached my audio to little stickers there that tell you exactly what I can manipulate them, and then there are text boxes there for you to go ahead and enter those answers in as well. I would be able to see each one of my students' progress. So you can see here, I've clicked on the students. And so the students that have interacted, I can see that they are bolded right now. The ones that have not started the activity, they are kind of grayed out. If they are actually interacting and working, you'll see the 3 little dots there that are moving. So again, this is why I like to have another device opened up so that I can be seeing what they're doing. And then I can actually click on each individual student. And as they are working, I could be dropping in feedback. So maybe I want to drop in, and I'm going to use Kathleen's here. Maybe I want to drop in and give Kathleen a little sticker, or I want to star her paper, or I can say, good job. And I can do that with each student. I can drop in on them and give them immediate feedback, or I can come back later in the day after they've completed that lesson, give them that feedback, and then it would be there for them the next day as well. All right, this is another student handout that I made that again, I've got the teacher audio recorded up in the top right-hand corner. This was there under the manipulatives. And so each student is going to have their own page, and the audio directions are telling them to make as many words as they can and try to solve what the mystery word is. And so they can just be dragging their letter here to create words. They each have their own page. Again, I can drop in on my students. And so again, I can see which students are being engaged there. I can drop in on them and I can offer them immediate feedback as well. Mrs. Peterson found the mystery word. And again, I can go ahead and give her an A plus. So again, the only thing that I needed to do there, I found the manipulative that worked for me, and then I recorded those audio instructions, and now it's ready for my students to use. The next one here, this is just an example of one of the reading curriculums, ELA curriculum. I just went ahead and pulled that PDF in. I've given them the audio instructions. And then my next activity, I am telling them to go ahead and choose a word or phrase from Sonnet 5, explain how it affects the tone of the poem. So again, now you've got your tools over on the left-hand side, and I can go ahead and create this as an individual handout. So each student would now get that individual handout. And right now, I have been leading this session as teacher led. What I would want to do for this one is I would want to go back and change it to student pacing so that they can go back and reread that sonnet and find their information. So if I turn it on to student pacing, that's going to give them the access to go back and forth. And now they can record their answers by typing with text. They can draw it with their pen tool. They can also record audio. And to do that, they're going to click on this little button that I call the everything button, the one with like the heart and the plus and the picture. If I click on that, I will see some additional options over on the left-hand side next to the stickers. So that is where my students could go ahead and record their audio. So if maybe they have in their IEP or 504 that they have some different accommodations such as recording the audio, this is where they would find that option. So lots and lots of different modes to be able to go through this activity for the students. And then again, since I turned this into student handout, I can click on teacher activity. I can see my students working. I can drop in on them and give them that immediate feedback, or I can come back again later and give them that feedback. So then using audio features on the student slide, I just kind of talked about that. So for this one, in the upper right-hand corner, and you can listen if you want, but it tells my students to go ahead and drag these images into the background and then to record a sentence about where they are located. So for example, I could say the vase is on top of the table, the dog is inside of the basket. So they are moving it and manipulating it, and then they are creating those sentences using that student audio, and then they could submit that. Another one, just a little bit higher level, same type of thing. I've made it into a student handout. My directions are in the top right-hand corner. And again, I'm asking them to manipulate their fraction bars. This was one of those pre-included manipulatives. All I did was add the word problem on the top. I've recorded the audio, and so they're going to drag it up there to solve the problem, and then they can record themselves explaining their reason. And so again, they would do that by clicking that everything button, and they would find the little microphone there, and they can record their answer. One more example here, same type of thing, student handouts. The audio is up there for them. What can I control in school? What can I control at home? What is one way I can deal with something I can't control, right? So the students have options. It's totally, based on what level they are. So my students that are great writers, they can be typing away. Other students maybe could do an image search. So what can I control in school. So we could say we can control maybe doing we'll just say homework. I'm trying to think of something that would be easy to search here, right? So I can control. Nope, that's not a great picture, but you get you get the idea. So I can pull in images, I can type, I can record audio, or I can even draw a picture. And each student then has the ability to to do their own response to meet their level. I love this one here. You know, we're always checking reading fluency. A lot of our students probably have progress monitoring. So this one here, they can record themselves reading the story. So they would click that little microphone option, and then they can draw a picture that matches the story. So super easy for them to do. I just copied and pasted that text there. You could create this template and have it for your different level students for your progress monitoring, and then I can actually listen. All right, so this just goes over the audio that I have talked about, the different ways. But like I said, it is super easy. I've already shown you how to do that student audio. And once we get done with the student file here, I will show you how to do the teacher audio. All right, so the immersive reader, this was the one thing that I was really excited to show you. Okay, so immersive reader is for any text that is what we call readable text. And it is readable text if it is not flattened. So for example, I'm sure you have tried to copy and paste text before and it would not allow you to copy and paste it. That means that it's flattened text. If it is text that you can copy and paste, that means that it is readable text. Okay. And so if it is readable text, both you and the students are going to have access to what's called the immersive reader. And so over on your left-hand side now, as you're in the student file, you should see this little book with the speaker attached to it. And that is the immersive reader icon. So if I click on that, it is going to pull out any of my readable text. All right. So once it does that, I can click on any of those paragraphs of that readable text, and it is going to open up a separate sheet here for immersive reader. It's going to open the immersive reader up. All right. And so down at the bottom of my screen, I've got a play button. If I click that, it's going to start reading to me. And over next to it is a little speaker. That is my voice settings. I can change it from male to female, and I can speed it up or slow it down. And it's then going to go ahead and read to me. So that is the basic, but there are lots and lots of ways to customize this to make it even better for your students. So if you have your immersive reader open, or if you don't, follow along on my screen. In the top right-hand corner, I have 3 options to help customize this even more. So the first one, those little double A's there, if I click on that, that is how I'm going to make my text smaller or larger. I can increase the spacing, and then this is important for those elementary teachers. We know that Comic Sans, we like to have those A's, the way that we're teaching our students how to make them. And then I can also change the background. There are a lot of options. Accessibility wise, there are 2 that really stand out for those students that are maybe dyslexic. And so the inverted text, which is the black background and the white text, that is a lot easier on those students' eyes, as well as a light blue text. It seems like our students with dyslexia do a much better job with those backgrounds. So those are the options for the first one. They're the double A's. I'm going to go ahead and click on the middle one. So these are our grammar options. I can split my words up into syllables, or say we're covering a certain grammar skill that week. Let's say that we're focusing on adjectives. I can go ahead, I can change the color, and then I can find all of our adjectives that will then stand out. I could do nouns. Okay, so very, very cool feature. And then the last feature is our line focus. So maybe those students that have some attention difficulties, I can limit it by single line, 3 lines, or a paragraph. And then I also have the toggle for my picture dictionary. So any words that are recognizable are going to have pictures that go along with it, as well as you can see when I click on mouse here, it even gives you those multiple meaning words as well. And then the last feature is that translate. And so we have lots and lots of different languages that are here. So I can quickly go ahead, find the language that I need, and choose whether I want to translate it by word or document. Okay, so here is document, and you can see it has now translated my entire document into Spanish, but I still have the original opened up, so I can toggle back and forth between them. The picture dictionary works in those languages as well, and it will read to you in those languages as well. Okay, so just a little background, some information about the immersive reader there. We're almost done with the student side here. I just wanted to put in a couple of the activities that you could see for the students. They love these game activities. And like I said, the templates are already there. You are just the one that is putting in the content for it. Okay. So we are looking for examples, non-examples, and if it's correct, it will accept it. If it's not correct, it's going to bounce it back. So your students are getting immediate feedback. Your progress is being tracked as well. And anything that tracks progress allows you to also export those results out into an Excel sheet that is color coded and beautiful, that's easily sortable for you to get that immediate data from your students. This is one of the students' favorite activities. It's called Monster Quiz. The template's already there for you. I actually made this with AI, so it took me about 30 seconds to create. It divides my students into groups I want. It's going to automatically sort all of my students that are present and signed in class into groups. And then, if maybe Nathan and Gregory, I'm sorry to use you two as an example, maybe they can't work together, I can go ahead and resort them or move those two. And then it would start the quiz. I'll let you play for a couple of seconds here. They love the monster quiz. So right now the monsters are inside of that box, an ice cube. And each time they get an answer correct, it automatically gives them that positive feedback. Their name pops up on the board with a green check, and the monster gets closer to busting out of the box or the cube there. And so the goal is to be the first team for the monster to jump out there. It gives them that immediate feedback. They can see what answers they got right and wrong when they are done, and students love it. They get very, very competitive and very, very excited about it. So yeah, one of the favorites for sure, teachers and students. This is a response activity. I'm just going to show it to you and then we're going to move on. What feature of Lumio will help to make learning accessible to all students? You're welcome to answer if you want. But this response activity, there are so many different ways that I can use this. I can create polls with my students. I can create multiple choice, true and false, matching. This one here, I have set up since it's just an open-ended one. It's creating a word cloud for my students. I love it. I love the answers there. Thank you for participating. And just like any word cloud, the more you use something, the bigger that word gets. So if several wrote immersive reader, it's just going to continue to get bigger. I talked about student data. This is that data. This is what it would look like as you are viewing it, as you are going through the activities. And so it doesn't give any student name or information. So it's definitely something that's easy for you to put up on the screen. That way you can see how many students are still working. And then this one here is an example of what that exportable data would look like. So down in the bottom left-hand corner, that's just an example of something of how it would look if I exported those results. Just some simple tasks to start out. I don't want this to be overwhelming for anybody. But the basic thing is starting with Lumio, start with something you already have. Just go ahead and import that content that you already have. Try to just import a video in YouTube or go to that Lumio library and just find some things that are already made. And then you can go ahead and just start adding in those accessibility features such as audio. And like I said, it's super, super easy. I am going to end this session. And so I'm going to ask you to do the same thing. You can click out of the tab that you are in. And you are welcome to sign into your Lumio, your teacher account if you want, or you can just watch on the Zoom screen here and just kind of pay attention to what I'm doing. And I'm just going to show you some basic things here to help you navigate through as you get started on your Lumio adventure here. Like I said, if you want to sign in, great. If you do not, just follow along here. And I'm just going to show you a couple simple things to help you get started. Okay, so this is what your page is going to look like when you sign in. You are on My Library, and so My Library has all of my files, the recent files that I have used, and then all of my files. So you can see, I promise you, I have a lot more files than what you can see. You are able to organize them. And so I've organized all of mine into separate folders here because I need to have some organization in my life. Lumio Library, which is the third little tab over here and on the top of the page. Lumio Library is where you are going to find all of that pre-made content. Again, made by teachers for teachers. Anything that is here is now able for you to use, okay? And so it's not going to edit it on the base file. It's for you to bring in to your activity. So you can search it by clicking up in the search bar, and you can search by grade and subject, or you can kind of just browse through the different topics and headings here. They do a great job, usually in featured, usually in the top two categories here. They are typically season based, like at the beginning of the school year, they'll have back to school activities for you. So lots of things that are already made that you can take and then edit it to work for you. If you take an activity, it has 10 slides, maybe you only like 5 of those slides. So you can delete the other ones and take the ones that you want and use them for your own. And then the last tab here is class sessions. And so this is where those files go after I'm done presenting them. Okay, so the one on the top is what I just went through with all of you. All right, so let's say that this was my lesson for the day. We didn't get all the way done. I can come back tomorrow and I can click Start Live. Or maybe I did get all the way done and now I want to share it in my Google Classroom. So this is where I would click Share Assignment, and now my students can view it just like I did, but they'll be able to toggle all the way through it. Or the review button is where I would go back and see all of the data. So who answered what? I can take a look at all of that data. I can export that data if I want to. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my library and I want to just show you a couple of things that I want you to do if you have not already had a session with me. Okay, so in the top right-hand corner, you will see the little profile person here. If you click on that, you are going to want to find Join Lumio Beta. So if you're just following along, maybe write that down. Join Lumio Beta simply means that you are getting early access to some of our newest features. Okay, so it's not a must, but for example, AI lesson that you can see on my screen here, that is still in Lumio Beta. That is still in Lumio Beta, which means that if you didn't join Lumio Beta, you would not see this. So you're getting early access to some of the things that are still in testing for Lumio. That is a great thing about Lumio, is that they are always adding new features that are being requested by teachers. So if you ever have a feature that you are really wishing it had, there is a link in Lumio that allows you to request that feature. And then right underneath the profile, you will see Edit Class. If you click Edit Class, this is where we can turn on Manage Immersive Reader. So I just showed you Immersive Reader. Okay, if you want your students to use it, you have to turn it on. It's only a one-time thing, so I would click Manage Immersive Reader, and then I would make sure that it is toggled on. Once you do that one time, it is on. It's there for your students to use whenever they need it. Okay, so that was just some housekeeping there. And then lastly, I'm going to go ahead and show you how easy it is to navigate through making an activity. Okay, Nicole, good question. I had a feeling this one would be asked. Can you turn Immersive Reader on for just a few students, or does it have to be on for all of them or none of them? So it is on for all of them. So all I recommend is, the students that that need it, I would do just a little, pull them aside and teach them how to use it, and then it's there. The ones that don't need it are probably not going to be very interested in it, but unfortunately that is not something, it's either all or none. Creating an activity, we start everything by clicking the New button. Okay, so in the top left-hand corner, I'll show you that again, top left-hand corner, New, and this is our Lumio menu. Okay, this is what we'll start with every single time that we're making an activity. So this is where I would start with if I already have something that I want to pull in, I would start with by pulling it in right here. Okay, or right from here, I can go ahead and search that Lumio library that I showed you. So if I specifically am looking for maybe a social emotional learning morning check-in, I could search right here and see if it's something that I'm interested in comes up. YouTube, that's where I'm going to click YouTube and I'm going to do a quick search. So I can go ahead and click. I can preview my videos, find what I'm looking for, and simply add it in. Okay. Now, I do not need to go back to my library. I'm going to continue the activity by going down to the bottom and again clicking the plus sign. So the plus sign is just now on the bottom now that I've started my activity. So again, I'll click that and I will get that same menu. I'm going to choose one of the graphic organizers. Okay, so maybe I was watching Weathering and Erosion, and I want them to compare and contrast weathering and erosion. So I can go ahead and add that graphic organizer. In the top right-hand corner, this is where I can add those audio instructions for my students that need to hear that audio. So when I click that, it's going to prompt me to start recording. Like I said, I can record up to 5 minutes. I'm going to record it. I can preview that recording and then I can add it to my slide and it's going to pop up in the top right-hand corner, just where mine was as we were going through those slides. Okay. I can also go ahead and customize any of my slides here. So I could say that I want weathering over here and I want erosion over here. And then the last thing, right, because I want my students to be able to interact with this, I'm going to click that magic wand that's right next to my audio speaker. I'm going to click that magic wand and I get those same 3 activities that I was doing in the student activity as I was showing you on the student side. Individual handout, group workspace, whole class whiteboard. So I could go ahead and create the individual handout and now it's all set up for my students to be able to get their own workspace as they go through that activity. The manipulatives, I talked before about those manipulatives. We were doing one that was kind of similar to this letter tile. Any of our manipulatives have infinitely cloned images. So here is one of my math manipulative activities. And so all of these are infinitely cloned that I can just pull them and there's going to be an infinite number of twos behind it. Again, to customize this and make it accessible for all of my students, I can give them the directions in my audio here so I can record it. I'm going to click the magic wand to decide how do I want my students interacting with this? Do I want them each to have it? That would be individual handouts. So I could click that and now it's ready for my students. The game-based activities is another one I want to show you real quick. 12 activities are here for you to use. Right now, 4 of them, game show, monster quiz, speed up, and team quiz, they are all ready to be used with AI, which means that all that I have to do is choose my standard or go ahead and put in a prompt for my students, and it's going to automatically create those activities for me. I'll take you through one real quick because I'm sure a lot of you are interested with the AI. This one particularly has 2 question types, multiple choice or true and false. It will make 10 questions at a time. I can make more than that, but it can just make 10 at a time. So I could make 10 and then make 10 more. I can type a specific prompt or standard here, or I can go and actually search for my standards. I don't remember the strand number, so I like to just type in a keyword and find the strand that I'm looking for. So I'm doing solve 2-step word problems. I can choose the difficulty and then I can choose generate, and it's going to go right ahead and generate those questions for me. As it's generating, I can preview them and make sure that they meet my standard, that they are what I'm looking for. If they don't, I can delete them and try again. Like I said, I've got 10. If I want more, I can just go back and create 10 more. If 10 is good, I move on. I choose my background and my game is done and ready for my students to play. Something that's going to automatically give me that formative data as well when I'm done there. Hopefully that gives you a good starting point to help make that learning accessible for your students. Yes, definitely try Canva out. All you've got to do is look in the apps in Canva, create your activity, and find the Lumio app, and that's going to give you an exportable web page that you can pull right into Lumio. So I appreciate you all being here, and I look forward to our next one with JCPS. Have a great night, guys.